My ex-wife abandoned our family to join a no relationships allowed cult with her friends, and years later, she came back expecting to be welcomed with open arms. My name is Daniel, 29, and I got married 6 years ago, but I've been divorced for 3 years now. I have 2 sons with my ex-wife, Melissa, 30, who are 4 and 5 years old, and I have full custody of them because she didn't want to feel tied down by family responsibilities. For 3 years, our marriage seemed perfect. We had 2 beautiful kids, and we're even planning to buy a house, so we could finally move out of the small apartment we were living in. Then, out of the blue, Melissa hit me with, "I want to be single and explore the world." We had been together since high school. We were all each other knew. I was her first love, her first everything, and she was mine. I thought we were a forever kind of thing. She never seemed to mind that neither of us had been with anyone else, but 3 years into the marriage, she told me she was unhappy. She said she wanted us both to be free of the burden of marriage and family, so we could live life to the fullest. It all sounded like bizarre, free-spirited nonsense, as my mom would say. I couldn't understand it. I thought she loved me. She insisted that she did, but she also claimed she needed to love herself and give herself the chance to explore the world. I was desperate, so I even suggested opening our marriage temporarily, even though the idea hurt me deeply. I just wanted to find a way to keep her with me, but Melissa wasn't interested in that. She was determined to get divorced, so we could each have a fresh start. I was devastated. It came out of nowhere, and I broke down, crying in front of her. She told me everything would be fine and that I just needed to have faith in our love. If we were meant to be, she said, she'd find her way back to me one day. It was absurd and unfair, but that's how our marriage ended. One day, she packed her bags and left, saying she needed to explore the world on her own. She didn't seem to care about what would happen to me or the kids. I even asked her, "What do you expect me to do with the boys?" She shrugged and said, "Leave them with someone you trust. Go explore the world, meet new people, and live an adventurous life. You'll grow as a person." I was stunned. As far as I'm concerned, if you bring children into the world, it's your responsibility to raise them, protect them, and provide for them. Running off to find yourself isn't an option. That's when I knew she was completely out of her mind. I stopped fighting the divorce and didn't contest it. The settlement was easy. She didn't want anything. Her wealthy parents took care of child support, so Melissa didn't have to worry about it. She was given visitation rights, but she hardly ever used them. When she did visit, she'd ask me to drop the kids off at her parents' house, and she'd wait in another room so she wouldn't have to see me. But even those rare visits stopped after a couple of months. The real reason behind her behavior came to light later. My friend Luke, who had mutual friends with Melissa, told me what happened. Luke's cousin was part of the group that influenced her, and he shared everything 2 months after the divorce was finalized. I don't blame Luke for not telling me sooner. He wasn't close with his cousin and didn't know the full story until after the divorce was over. According to Luke's cousin, the group Melissa got involved with was made up of 6 or 7 women who had sworn off relationships. They believed in staying single and living adventurous, commitment-free lives. Melissa had been introduced to the group by a co-worker, even though she was married with 2 kids. Luke's cousin bragged that they had convinced Melissa to leave her family behind to embrace their philosophy. To them, her divorce and abandonment of the kids was a success story, a testament to how powerful their beliefs were. Out of curiosity, Luke asked his cousin what this woman looked like, wondering what kind of person would abandon her family to follow a group like that. When his cousin showed him a photo, Luke recognized Melissa right away. He texted me as soon as he left the event, asking to meet up so he could tell me everything. When Luke told me what had really happened, I was furious. Melissa had left me and our kids not because of some personal crisis, but because she wanted to fit in with this reckless group. She wanted to be seen as brave and adventurous. I honestly would have felt better if she had just cheated on me. At least that would have made some sense. But leaving her family for this? It was beyond insane. I wanted to call her and scream at her, but I held back. At that point, I realized she wasn't worth my time or energy. She was clearly unhinged, and nothing I said would change her mind. So I focused on my kids instead. I worked harder at my job and hired a nanny to help care for the boys. My parents supported me, and even Melissa's parents helped occasionally, probably out of guilt. They were the ones paying child support every month. I knew that Melissa wasn't contributing. She was off traveling the world, blowing her money on luxury hotels and exotic vacations now that she had no family responsibilities. I raised my sons the best I could, and today they're happy, kind, and loving boys. They mean the world to me, and we've built our own little family. I've pushed the memories of my marriage out of my mind, It's just not worth thinking about. I've also done well at work and now earn double what I used to. Life has been good these past 2 years. I thought I had put everything behind me until last week. Melissa showed up out of nowhere after almost 3 years of silence. It was a Sunday, and I was home with the kids. I could have bought a house by now, but I stayed in the same apartment because I love the place and it's convenient for work. Unfortunately, staying here also meant Melissa knew exactly where to find me. I opened the door, and there she was. Seeing her after 3 years hit me like a punch to the gut. When I opened the door and saw Melissa standing there, my heart raced. I didn't know what to say. 3 years of silence and abandonment, and now she just showed up as if nothing had happened. She had the same calm smile on her face, like she expected me to welcome her with open arms, as if all was forgiven. But all I felt was a knot of rage tightening in my chest. "Hi, Dan," she said, as if she had just come back from a short trip and not from abandoning her family for 3 whole years. "What do you want, Melissa?" I asked, keeping the door half open so the kids, who were playing in the living room, wouldn't see her. She let out a theatrical sigh and ran her hand through her hair, as if she were about to deliver a rehearsed speech. "I've been thinking a lot about us. I miss the family we had. I want to come back. Do you think we could start over?" At that moment, all the anger I had buried over the years bubbled to the surface. She was talking about starting over as if she had just gone out for a walk, not abandoned her entire family without a word. I took a deep breath, trying not to explode. "You want to start over?" I said, my voice cold and steady. "After disappearing for 3 years? After leaving your kids without so much as a phone call or a birthday card? And now you think you can just show up and I'll say, 'Sure, welcome back'?" She looked offended, like my reaction was unreasonable. "Dan, I needed that time. I was confused, but now I know I want to be with you and the kids again." I let out a bitter laugh that took her by surprise. "Confused? You were so confused that you abandoned 2 little boys to go on vacations and party with your no-relationship friends?" She crossed her arms, as if that would somehow protect her from my words. "I know I made mistakes, but everyone deserves a second chance. I'm still their mother." That sentence was the last straw. You have no idea what it means to be a mother. Being a mother means being there for them every single day, through the good and the bad. It doesn't mean running off for years and coming back whenever it's convenient for you. She tried to say something, but I wasn't done. "You're only back because that fantasy life you chased didn't work out. The trips are over, the money's gone, and your so-called friends have probably moved on. Now you want to use your children as your fallback plan?" Melissa stood there, stunned, as if she hadn't expected me to see through her so clearly. "They're still my children, Daniel. I have a right to see them," she said, trying to regain some control. That statement sent a chill through me. She wasn't just asking to reconnect. She was trying to regain some leverage. "No, Melissa, you lost that right when you walked away. They don't even know who you are anymore. I've been the one raising them, and I'm not going to let you come back into their lives just to mess everything up again." She took a step forward, but I kept my hand on the door, making it clear that this conversation was over. "And if you try anything," I continued, "I'll fight you every step of the way to make sure you never hurt them again. You have nothing against me, Melissa. I was here. I stayed. You're just a stranger to them now." She stared at me, her eyes brimming with tears, realizing she wasn't going to get what she wanted. "So this is it," she whispered, almost as if she were apologizing. "Yes, Melissa, this is it. Goodbye." And with that, I closed the door in her face. In the following months, I kept my guard up, expecting Melissa to try something. Maybe a lawsuit for visitation rights, or some desperate attempt to insert herself into our lives. But all I heard were rumors that her life had fallen apart. She had no money, no friends, and no family left to fall back on. Meanwhile, my life with my sons continued to thrive. I earned a promotion at work, bought a new house, and finally left that old apartment behind. Our days were filled with joy and peace. I took my boys to school, attended every parent-teacher meeting, and made sure I was present for every moment that mattered. They knew I would always be there for them, no matter what. Then, one day, I received an unexpected message from Melissa. It was short and desperate. "Can I see the boys? Just once?" I stared at the message for a moment before deleting it without replying. She didn't deserve even that much. A few weeks after Melissa's unexpected visit, I received a letter in the mail. It was from a lawyer. She was suing me for full custody of the boys. My stomach dropped for a moment, but then anger took over. After all these years, after abandoning our children, she now had the audacity to demand custody? It was absurd. But if this was the fight she wanted, I was ready to give it to her. I immediately called my lawyer, Claire, and we started preparing. I gathered every piece of evidence I had: messages, financial records, photos, and testimonies. I even contacted my friend Luke, who still remembered the day he told me about the cult-like group that had influenced Melissa. He was more than willing to testify on my behalf. I also collected evidence of her neglect, how she had stopped visiting, how she used child support from her parents to fund her vacations instead of supporting the boys. The court date arrived. Melissa walked into the courtroom with an air of confidence, as if she thought being their biological mother would automatically guarantee her victory. But I could tell she didn't expect what was coming. She had no idea how prepared I was. The hearing was intense. Melissa's lawyer tried to argue that she had made mistakes, but deserved a second chance. They painted her absence as a period of personal growth and claimed that now she was ready to be a mother again. But when it was my turn, I laid everything bare. Claire presented the court with photos of Melissa on vacation in exotic locations, all taken during the years she had abandoned her children. We showed the judge copies of text messages where she admitted that she wanted to explore the world instead of raising her sons. I even had bank statements proving how she spent her money on luxury hotels while her parents had been paying child support. Then, the turning point. Luke testified about the cult-like group that had convinced Melissa to leave her family behind, bragging about turning her into one of them. Luke's words made it clear that Melissa didn't leave because of some personal crisis. She left because she chose a selfish ideology over her children. The judge, an older man with a stern face, sat silently as the evidence piled up. When Melissa's lawyer tried to argue that being their biological mother gave her the right to raise them, the judge raised his hand, signaling for her to stop. Then he turned to Melissa. "Mrs. James," he began, his voice calm but firm, "I've seen parents make mistakes. I've seen cases where a mother or father genuinely regrets their actions and seeks redemption. But this is not that case." Melissa's face paled as the judge continued. "You didn't just abandon your children for a few months. You abandoned them for years, without any attempt to rebuild that relationship. And when you had the chance to visit, you used their grandparents as a buffer, refusing to even look at the man who raised your sons. Now, after living a life of luxury and self-indulgence, you expect this court to hand them over to you, as if the last 3 years never happened." He shook his head slowly. "Children are not toys you can pick up and put down when it suits you. They need stability. They need consistency. And Mr. Daniels has provided that for them." Melissa's lawyer tried to interrupt, but the judge cut her off. "Enough. This court finds that it is not in the best interest of these children to be placed in your custody. In fact, I am denying you any future visitation rights until further notice." Melissa's eyes widened in shock. "But I'm their mother," she stammered, her voice trembling. The judge's gaze didn't waver. "A mother's title is earned through love, care, and responsibility. It's not just biology." And with that, the gavel came down. The court ruled in my favor. I was granted sole custody, and Melissa was denied any contact with the children. Her lawyer whispered something to her, but Melissa didn't respond. She just sat there, stunned and silent, as if the reality of what had just happened finally hit her. After the ruling, Melissa didn't try to contact me again. She disappeared from social media, and the few mutual acquaintances we had told me that her life had completely fallen apart. The friends she had abandoned us for had long since moved on. She had no steady income, no real career, and nowhere to go. Her parents, ashamed of her actions, cut back on their financial support, leaving her to fend for herself. I heard rumors that she was living in a small, rundown apartment on the outskirts of town, working odd jobs just to get by. Her once glamorous lifestyle was nothing but a distant memory, and she never reached out to me or the boys again. Meanwhile, life for me and my sons only got better. The relief of knowing that Melissa could no longer interfere in our lives was overwhelming. I could finally focus on raising my boys without looking over my shoulder, wondering if she would show up out of nowhere to disrupt everything. We moved into our new house, a beautiful place with a big backyard where the boys could play freely. Every evening, I'd sit with them on the porch, watching them chase each other around, their laughter filling the air. At work, things were going great too. I got another promotion, and my financial situation was better than ever. But more importantly, I was there for my sons. Every birthday, every school play, every scraped knee. I was the father they could rely on, and that meant more to me than anything. One night, as I was tucking them into bed, my oldest son looked up at me with a sleepy smile. "Dad, are we always going to be together?" he asked softly. I smiled and kissed his forehead. "Always, buddy. I promise." As I closed their bedroom door that night, I realized something important. I had won, not just in court but in life. Melissa's absence no longer haunted me. She had made her choices, and now she was living with the consequences. Meanwhile, I had everything I needed right here. 2 wonderful boys, a life filled with love and purpose, and a future that looked brighter every day. And Melissa? She was nothing more than a distant memory, a reminder of the kind of person I would never allow back into our lives.